The United States and Iran appear to be taking another step toward diplomacy, even as tensions remain high following recent military exchanges and continued uncertainty across the Middle East. US President Donald Trump has announced that American and Iranian officials are set to meet in Doha, saying the talks were requested by Tehran. The meeting comes as both countries attempt to preserve their memorandum of understanding after days of tit-for-tat strikes threaten to derail the fragile peace process. Trump also said oil and gasoline prices were falling, pointing to lower crude prices as a positive sign following what he described as the denuclearization of Iran. The White House says a special envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner will travel to Doha for high-level discussions, while technical talks are expected to take place on the sideline. However, Tehran has pushed back on reports of technical negotiations. Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Qasem Gharibabadi says no technical meetings with the United States have been scheduled this week, although consultations with Qatar are continuing on the implementation of the agreement. Meanwhile, the White House says President Trump wants the peace process to continue but has warned that Washington will respond if Iran targets vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said Iran would be better served by reaching what she called a good deal with the United States, adding that the president has demonstrated his willingness to use military force if necessary.
Well, I just spoke with the president about it. Iran has requested a meeting this week, so Special Envoy Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be flying to Doha for high-level meetings this week as we continue to discuss the memorandum of understanding. On the sidelines of those high-level talks will be the technical talks. So as far as we're concerned, we're holding up our end of the ceasefire. Violence will be met with violence. As you mentioned, Brian, there were attacks on commercial vessels that the United States of America, directed by the president, responded to, and that will continue to happen, but we hope we don't see that. The president obviously wants to see the peace process play out, and the Iranians would be best to sign a good deal with the United States of America because the president has proven he's unafraid to use the might of our military. Look at Operation Midnight Hammer. Look at Operation Epic Fury. Either way, though, the United States of America wins. If the peace process plays, this MOU continues, gas prices will continue to tumble. We're seeing crude is lower than it was prior to the start of this excursion, as the president calls it. Or if Iran chooses to be a bad actor, they'll prove themselves to be the pariah of the Middle East. They've totally alienated themselves from their Gulf and Arab partners in the region. And the United States of America has the best and strongest military in the world. The president retains the right to use it. But again, the memorandum of understanding will continue to be discussed. The ceasefire is in place, and we hope that we can get to a good deal. The president will sign one that puts our nation's interests first.
The diplomatic push is also moving to Washington, where Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff are expected to brief members of both the House of Representatives and the Senate on the status of the agreement with Iran. Former U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has also weighed in, saying Iran now has a new sense of power after enduring recent military attacks. Kerry warned American negotiators that Iran remains highly experienced in asymmetric warfare and urged caution in future negotiations.
A genuine agreement. They are negotiating. All of what is going on, Lawrence, every bit of this back and forth, Switzerland, notice what somebody may or may not have said, where in fact the negotiations are, could have been avoided completely. All the president had to do was commit that he was prepared to negotiate for the changes that he really wanted as a result of Iran's behavior. And there was no sort of follow-on or excuse me, not follow-on. There was no effort to put on the table something that said, look, here's what we really object to. These are the problems we have with this current agreement, and we're prepared to negotiate with you on that. That is a negotiation that never took place, never really took place in a fulsome way, because clearly the president really was anxious to join Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Regional diplomacy is also intensifying. Qatar's Defense Minister Sheikh Saud bin Abdulrahman bin Hassan Al Thani held a telephone conversation with Iran's acting Defense Minister Majid Ibn Riza. According to Qatar news agency, the two sides reviewed the latest security developments and discussed coordination amid the current regional situation. Saudi Arabia's Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan is also set to visit China this this week, with regional tensions expected to feature prominently during meetings in Beijing. Meanwhile, security concerns continue to center on the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical energy shipping routes. France and Oman have announced plans to work with international partners to clear mines from the strait in an effort to guarantee safe navigation and reduce tension. French President Emmanuel Macron said the initiative aims to ensure free and unconditional passage through the strategic waterway. At the same time, Qatar has temporarily suspended sailing and several maritime activities, including pleasure boats, fishing vessels, and jet skis, until further notice. The announcement follows the death of a Qatari national who was injured by shrapnel during military operations in the region after his vessel went missing. Commercial shipping through the strait has also slowed significantly. Maritime tracking data shows vessel traffic has fallen sharply over the weekend following recent US-Iran strikes and damage to a commercial vessel. Although Tehran and Washington have agreed to resume discussions over the waterway, uncertainty continues to affect shipping activity. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy has also issued fresh warnings to vessels operating in the Persian Gulf and the Sea of Oman, while Iranian media report that ships are now seeking permission before crossing the Strait of Hormuz. The latest developments have also influenced global energy market. Oil prices rose by nearly 1% after the latest exchange of strikes highlighted the fragility of the US-Iran understanding. However, gains remain limited as hopes of continued maritime shipping through the Strait of Hormuz eased fears of major supply disruptions. Lebanon's Army Chief General Rudolf Heitel also met Admiral Cooper to discuss regional developments and future military cooperation, thanking the United States for its continued support. However, the agreement is already facing political resistance. Two Lebanese Sunni groups have rejected the Washington framework, arguing that linking an Israeli withdrawal from southern Lebanon to Hezbollah's disarmament amounts to an unacceptable condition and gives Israel an oversight role in Lebanon's internal security affairs. Hezbollah has also accused Israel of repeatedly violating the ceasefire through airstrikes, drone attacks, and military operations across southern Lebanon. The group says it reserves the right to respond to what it describes as continued Israeli aggression. Meanwhile, Lebanon's health ministry says the death toll from Israeli attacks since March 2nd has risen to 4,257, with more than 12,000 people wounded. Elsewhere in the region, Iraq has given pro-Iran armed groups until September 30th to disarm. The announcement comes ahead of Prime Minister Ali al-Saadi's visit to Washington, where the issue is expected to feature prominently in discussions with US officials. Despite renewed diplomatic efforts between Washington and Tehran, military, political, and security challenges continue to shape the broader Middle East landscape, leaving the region in a fragile balance between diplomacy and renewed confrontation.